Coming to you live from the outer regions, only the best and by request. I'm Sam Yates, and I will be your host for today's Select Characters podcast. Christopher Anderson, unfortunately, could not join us in the studio this afternoon, but I've got a couple of other of my friends here to spin some platters that really matter. And we're going to start out with a little tune from somebody you might have heard of named Jamie Van Lent, and it goes a little bit like this.
That was so damn smooth. Hello.
Hello. All right, hep cats out there in TV and audio podcast land. I've got another buddy here. It's Enrique Cancel. What's up with you, man?
Is this all ad-lib? Because this is really impressive.
This is me. I figure I sound like that today because I've got a little bit of a sore throat, so I thought I'd lean into it.
You do. You got the whole late night, after hours voice going on.
Yeah, Broken Hearts Radio. Coming at you live. All right, let's talk a little bit about video games. Let's go ahead and dig into it and talk about what we have been playing this week. It's been another excellent week for video games. No interstitial breaks, I don't think. Let's just roll through it. Let's start with Enrique. What you been playing, man?
Still playing Legion, having a lot of fun with that, and I picked up Monster Hunter again because they released some more free DLC, which is great. They released, I think, Star Fox DLC, so you can get like little Star Fox outfits for your little kitty companions, which is always fun.
For Monster Hunter?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
That's one thing, I don't know, I really like that about Capcom with their DLCs, especially for Monster Hunter. They have been having this thing lately where they just release, it's all free. I think the first of every month, they'll release a bunch of new like quests and missions. And when you knock those missions out, you get those gear, like those little items to craft the like partnership gear. So far they've had, they had not Ninja Gaiden. There's a Ninja theme one. I can't remember the name of it was. But they had like the Monster Hunter one. They had like the Star Fox one was a recent one, and every time I think they had one for Ushio and Toro, which is like a really popular anime and manga that got released recently. It is cool. It's all free, and then it's just fun cosmetic gear you can get.
What are we talking about with the Star Fox? Do they have little baby R wings, or do they just have the visors?
No, it's like the whole outfit. You get them for your little cats. It's like the whole Star Fox outfit. You can get Star Fox, Flippy. God, I can't remember the other characters' names.
Falco?
Yeah,
Fox?
Falco, and then whatever the other fourth one was.
The rabbit.
Yeah.
The rabbit.
Peppy. Is that right?
Yep. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and they get the little jacket, pants, blaster, and like a little mask for them that makes them look like that.
Do they have lines? Like, keep shooting, we got lots of tortillas.
No, they just meow.
So
it's not fully immersive, but it's still fun enough.
Awesome, man. That sounds cool. Still playing that, huh? Still rocking that DS game.
I don't know, dude. Like, that's one of those games I always put like at least 1,000 hours in. So every time the iteration I've had of it, dude, it's not a game you just like beat and finish.
I looked. I was at Target the other day, and they had, I think, the non-XL version of the new 3DS. I think they're selling that in America now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I found that a little bit tempting because I don't like the XLs as much, but I do kind of like the smaller one. That made me think about it.
It's a fun game, but other than that, I got back into Stardew Valley because the new 1.1 update's coming out on Monday. And
Give me some details. What's up with the 1.1?
Adding some new buildings, some new like crafting things that you can do in terms of like the crops you can grow and the products you can make. I think they're actually adding some more, I guess, they're not really tech paths, but in the game, like when you grow a certain crop, there's certain things you can do with it, like with like the fruit. You can make jams. You can make some like beer with it and things like that. They're making it now so you can make wine with the fruit. I think you can make mead out of honey as well. So like just different crafting things you can do with them. They're adding different buildings, and you can actually move around some of the buildings in your farm now, which is really nice.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Yeah, because beforehand, if you didn't have it planned out, you kind of like shafted yourself with your location and stuff. And they're also adding, I think, different different farm themes, so you can have like Riverland, Mountaintop, and that kind of affects the layout of your farm and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
I like that. That's Stardew Valley, but just more.
Yeah, and I think they added, by popular request, there was 2 townspeople that people really wanted to have a chance to marry, so they became marriage material, and then add some more interactions with them.
Was it that really sad dude?
Yeah, like the little emo guy.
Yeah.
And I forget which other girl, but yeah, so they're available now, and I think he hinted at a multiplayer coming soon, and he's been working on that. But
oh, that'd be weird, but
yeah,
fun.
Right.
That'd be interesting, at least, for sure.
Yeah, so I decided to kind of just go back and refresh like my gameplay for it, because it's one of those games that it's so involved once you get into it that, if you kind of just pick it up not knowing what you're doing, you can kind of fuck yourself over for a season.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, but that's mainly it, man. It's just a lot of Warcraft because Legion is kind of rekindling that addiction to WoW, which is a lot of fun.
All encompassing. You doing raids yet?
No, not yet. They just released the looking for raid version of like the Emerald Nightmare, which is what they have right now. There's a little bit of community backlash because I guess one of the things that they added in is you can actually get raid specific quests for your campaign hall. So like you send your followers out on missions and then they have a chance to like loot an item and bring it back, and that'll start a quest chain that adds a little bit of lore, and then you get like a upgraded item. But you cannot complete those on the looking for raid section. You actually have to do an actual raid.
Oh, that's rough, man.
It is. It unlocks they unlock appearances for your weapons and stuff like that. So it's nothing that's really game changing, and most of it is just cosmetic stuff. But it kind of divides a community because some players say, well, tough luck, find a group of people and play with them. While the other people are saying, well, that's not fair because I don't have time to do that. That's why I do looking for raid. So it's bringing that us versus the mentality back of the whole like hardcore raider versus the casual people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to end up with people doing looking for raid and then just dropping and rejoining a party maybe altogether. Something like that could work maybe.
I don't know because the looking for raid is a whole separate instance from the normal raids, because the normal raids you actually need to do from people from your server and group up with them, and everyone needs to work together and stuff. And I think they're a little bit more difficult than the looking for raid version, but not too much.
Oh, I see. The looking for raid just pulls people from all kinds of different servers, wherever they are, and puts you in the same instance.
Yeah, it's like a matchmaking thing. Like you just queue up for it, you select your role, and then it'll just queue you up with a random number of people ready for the instance.
I gotcha. What are raids still 50 people?
No, they've changed them now. I think they're up to 20 people now.
20 seems doable. I was thinking it in lines of 50, and it's basically mandatory to join a guild at that point if you wanted to.
Oh, actually, no, they changed. I lied. They changed. It used to be 10 and 25, but now they've introduced a new system called flex rating, which is really nice. And flex rating actually scales the content to the number of people you have in your group, kind of like what Diablo does. So you can have anywhere, I think, from 10 up to 30 something people, and the content will the enemies will get health and damage based on that.
That's weird. I've always felt that those scaling mechanisms are a little bit shady, but I've never found one that's incredibly satisfying. It's normally just a number, but times 2 and then times 3 or an exponent or something. Right. Not changed in a way that actually matters.
It's kind of nice because, like I said, it's just a flat increase to damage and enemy risks and health and stuff, but it's nice when you think about it because on Warcraft, the whole raiding with a team and stuff like that, it can get kind of troublesome making sure everybody's on the same schedule, especially when you have, the higher end ones with 25 players, because once you kill a boss, you're kind of saved to that instance, and it sucks when, sometimes, you might get about halfway through the raid, a couple of your people drop, they can't finish it, and it's hard finding people to replace them because nobody wants to, go in halfway, with a halfway finished raid and miss out on loot.
Right, yeah.
So now they're making it so, let's say you start off with 10 people, you get through the night, 2 people have to drop out, it goes on to 8. We can still kind of manage through because it'll adjust that way, so.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, when you put it in those terms, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's really convenient. Like I said, the main argument people are having is just the whole, the looking for raid it was ideally made for people that don't have time to raid but still want to experience the content. They give you kind of a really quick, easier version of it. But I know Ghostcrawl, which is one of the older developers, had said that looking for a raid was probably one of their biggest mistakes. And it looks like the way they're handling now, the whole normal raid with those quests being exclusive to them, that the new development team might be kind of agreeing with them in a way, where looking for a raid is just there for if you want to fuck around and get some experience on it, because they've actually changed the gear now. So the gear rewards you get from looking for a raid are actually worse off than what you would do if you just did mythic dungeons.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's there's really from a gearing standpoint, there's really no point in doing the looking for raid unless you just want to get a crash course on the mechanics and then advance. Because gear-wise, you don't really get anything that's comparable. You can get better stuff by just doing the regular content.
That's strange. I mean, I guess they have a reason for it, though. I don't see why they wouldn't just make it the same. If 25 randos can pull it off, they deserve the same items, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is that they dumb down looking for raid a lot to the point where you can just ignore most of the mechanics and people just kind of steamroll through it. So I think that's where that whole separation becomes, where people doing the normal raids and above are saying, well, fuck you because you don't have the skill level that we do, so you don't deserve the same kind of prizes that we do.
I guess. So whatever, man.
Yeah. But That aside, I mean, I'm still having fun with it. Grinding rep and all that stuff. They release like more hidden artifact appearances that people are discovering, which is kind of fun. So I think it's kind of bringing back the whole community feel for WoW.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah. Anything else?
No, just mainly that. Like I said, there's some games coming out that I'm looking forward to, but until then, it's pretty much just WoW.
That makes sense. What are you looking forward to? Civ, probably?
Hell yeah. Civ 6. Everything I've seen on it seems amazing. And I think Total Biscuit just released a video on it where it's kind of nice because a lot of his commentary, he was just talking about like the terrain, how it affects it, and how the game seems a lot more in depth in regards to more strategy, where you're putting your buildings and what you're choosing to build in regards to wonders. So it seems like it's a big skill step up from the last one, but I'm like really psyched for it.
What's the date on that?
Good question. I don't know. Have it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't either. Sometime soon though, right? Sometime in October. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so.
Did you play the last Civ game, the weird like intergalactic one where it was all like in space and shit?
Yeah.
How was that? Was that any good or?
Honestly, it felt more like a mod or an expansion to Civ 5. Oh yeah, released October 21st for Civ 6. But yeah, that's like it wasn't bad. It had like but it literally just felt like I was playing Civ 5 with a different skin. They also started releasing, I think it was Sid Meier's Starships, I think, which was supposed to tie into the other Civ game, but it was a very watered down like 4X kind of strategy game, which really wasn't fulfilling at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're looking for Beyond Earth, right?
Yeah, that's what it was, Beyond Earth.
That's the one.
All right, cool. Let's cruise on across the table here. Let's talk to Jamie. What you been playing this week?
I spent most of my week playing Tomb Raider.
Which one?
The old one. The last one that came out before Rise of Tomb Raider.
Okay.
It's... I don't know. Like, I don't know how I really feel about the game. Like, it's really janky and kind of not very well put together, and it has so many problems. Like, the first... I don't know, like half an hour to hour of me playing the game, I really hated it. It just seemed like a bombardment of everything I hate about video games. There was like this really cinematic opening sequence followed by a bunch of quick time events, and then you have that magical power that every video game protagonist has these days where you can see important things shining in the environment. And it kind of really put me off. But once I got past that first hour, I sort of managed to see past all of the jank and all of the quick time events and all of that stuff, and it's just a lot of fun.
That's cool, man. I've heard that, like a lot of people say that it's great.
There's a lot of weird stuff to it, like, from what I've seen, all of the quick time events just operate off of one button. So it's like every time there's a quick time event, you just press the triangle button, and that's it. And I don't know whether that's because of the difficulty I'm playing on, or whether that's just a part of the game, but it just came across as really weird to me that there's this quick time events that are just like one button press, so you don't really have to think about it. It's just kind of a distraction away from when you're trying to like what you think you're watching a cutscene, and then they're suddenly like, haha, dickhead, press triangle, and you miss it and you die.
Just want to make sure you're paying attention.
That is what it feels like. It's a lot of fun though. Like, I've enjoyed it. I haven't been able to put it down since I like really got into it. Yeah. Like, I can see that it's not perfect in a lot of ways, but it kind of just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've had that one sitting in the library for a while. I've been thinking about it. I've heard it's good, though. I mean, like an adventure, kind of semi-stealth action type of groove a little bit.
Yeah, it's no, like, Uncharted. I know it's going to obviously get compared to Uncharted a lot. I don't think it's anywhere as good as the Uncharted games are. And the game sort of gives you the impression that it's got stealth mechanics, but the stealth mechanics are, like, beyond basic. It's like you can sneak up on enemies and kill them from behind if they don't notice you. But aside from that, that's literally it.
Huh. How do you feel about the Lara Croft? It's like, in this game, it's like before she is super badass heroine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is her origin story, so to speak.
Does it reflect that in the gameplay?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like very obvious stuff going on, like I don't know, like her transition from innocent architect to rampaging, essentially a serial killer, is very on the nose. Like, lots of shots of her looking in a mirror at herself and looking at the blood on her hands and
so
shit
they kind of beat you over the head with it.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those games that's very imperfect, but it's a lot of fun anyway. Except for the multiplayer. The multiplayer is just arse.
Yeah, does that feel like it's just weirdly tacked on?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really, really bad. I got into one game, and like the first game I got into, some guy was blatantly hacking, which, I don't know, I didn't think that was really that doable on the PlayStation 4. I thought that was why people sort of steered away from PC games and stayed onto console, because it's a lot harder to sort of hack those things online, but he very clearly had an aiming bot. He was like flying around the map in ways that literally shouldn't be possible. And he'd like fly up a zip line, land next to me, lock on, get an immediate headshot, and then just fly off again.
He's probably the reason that there's still a server for that game.
Yeah, and then he invited me to another game after I'd rage quit.
He's like, oh my god, there's another player on here. Please stay and let me use my aimbot, please.
Yeah, the multiplayer's not very good, and it seems like you get rewards for being bad as well. Like, there's achievements in the online thing, so like if you get 5 headshots in a game, or if you kill the same enemy 5 times, you'll get like 150 XP or something. But then there's also things opposite that, where if you get killed by the same enemy 5 times in a row, you'll get XP. And it's like, wow, I'm getting XP for being dominated. I don't really understand that.
All that does is like incentivize people to work together towards the achievements. Like, you kill me 5 times, I get an achievement, you get an achievement, then we switch. And then,
it does seem
you know
very
what I mean?
open to
That's
boosting.
weird.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all right. It's got me looking forward to the new one a bit more than I have been.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There is a whole nother one after the. Man, I guess I should play those. I remember them being like a big deal back when that one came out. I think a lot of people were talking about it.
Yeah, it was.
What would you say is the biggest appeal for you for the Tomb Raider games? Is it more gameplay or more story?
I'd say gameplay. I think the stories have always been like quite on the nose and not really much going on.
Because I know like there's a lot of similarities for me with that and like the Uncharted kind of series, but Uncharted's always been. It's more like playing through an Indiana Jones movie. It's fun to see the game, the story, and it just has decent enough gameplay to kind of support it.
Yeah, I've always felt that the Uncharted games had like much better characterization and stuff, and that's why I felt like really drawn to those because of all the characters and stuff that's going on. Whereas with Tomb Raider, like there's Lara Croft, and then like who are the other characters?
Right. Is the butler there anymore?
The T-Rex, maybe a couple bats.
I haven't seen the butler in this one. No, I think he's in Rise of the Tomb Raider. I think there's an expansion for that set in Croft.
You gotta go by the fountain. That's how you get the no clothes.
You just find the butler locked in the closet to figure out how he got there.
Yeah, I've also been playing. There's a new Worms game that came out.
Oh man, I missed those.
Yeah.
Worms WMD.
How is it compared to every single Worms game that's released?
I mean, it's Worms. It's not really much. Like, it's Worms, but I'm obsessed with Worms. I own literally every single Worms game that's ever been released.
Dude, those are fun, man. Like, those are like the
obsessed.
It's like that old school geometry shooter, but just like with a really nice aesthetic.
Oh yeah, they like if you can get a bunch of friends together and just create your own teams with ridiculous names, with all like those ridiculous customizations, and then just sit down and play that game for hours. It's so much fun.
I always make the Wu-Tang Clan. That's like my go-to. Tell me about this crafting thing. When I was reading about it, they said the crafting was what was like a big change.
Yeah, there's a few big changes. Like crafting is one of them. There's also vehicles, and then there's buildings that you can go inside now.
Wait, there's
the
vehicles?
Crafting, yes, there's tanks, there's mech suits, and there's helicopters. And in the version I got, there's a All-Stars version that's out where you get a downloadable content pack, which is a bunch of like customized items where there's ukulele, there's payday and stuff like that, masks you can wear, and there's also a Rocket League car in the game with that, which is just weird. Like all it does is jump really high. It's kind of pointless, but it's cool to have. The vehicles are sort of like really hard to control. I was worried that they'd unbalance the game massively, but they actually don't. They've been really well implemented, and they're not overpowered as much as you think they are. So they're pretty cool. The crafting mechanic is a bit weird. Like you know how you have the crates that drop from the sky. Occasionally they'll be filled with utilities or weapons or health. Now there's an extra set of drops that are like supplies, crafting supplies, and you can use them to go into a separate menu and like either upgrade your weapons or stuff like that. So you can turn the shotgun into a triple barrel shotgun, and just little bits like that. It's like a sort of a small thing, but I feel like the Worms games are always really good at that, at like changing tiny little bits of the game that make it feel like a very unique experience every time.
Yeah, and it gives
And
you
even
something
though-
to do when it's not your turn, right?
It has to be your turn in order for you to do the crafting.
Oh, okay. So you're still not doing anything when the other person's moving and everything.
Yeah, and you're still on the clock, so that means when you're like looking for your crafting menu, depending on what game settings you're using, you've either got like 60 seconds or 90 seconds. Think through what you're doing and craft those items together and all that sort of stuff.
Does that crafting end your turn?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, from
Wow.
what I remember.
I'm glad that you reminded me that there was a new Worms game. I saw it and I got excited, and that was right in the middle of my RimWorld Fugue state. So I'm very glad that you reminded me of that. Have you played online at all?
No, I haven't had a chance to play it online yet. I just went through all the tutorials, because there's like a lot of new shit to learn through the tutorials, and played a couple of the missions. Haven't had a chance to play online yet, though.
Yeah, I think I might
Man,
actually
I
have to
hope there's
get it
some
now,
good-
because I haven't played a Worms game in a while, and I remember loving those.
Let's do it,
Yeah.
man. Let's all get in there and play. Ninja ropes and dynamite only.
Do they still have the granny grenade?
Yes, they do.
Oh my god, I'm set.
So there's that, and another sort of old school game I've been playing as well was Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 came out as well a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right.
I downloaded that a couple days ago, and like I've been playing that non-stop. That game is ridiculously...
Yeah, the first one was awesome.
Like, same thing again, the Pac-Man series is one that... Like, it's got a couple of those gimmicky side games, like Pac-Man World and stuff like that, where it's like a platformer, 3D platformer. But when the Pac-Man team like stick to their roots and stick to what Pac-Man is supposed to be about, and then just change the formula slightly, they make like really good, unique experiences that just build off the legacy of the series.
So I haven't played any of these newer Pac-Man games. Like, so what's different than the older, like than the original arcade?
So it's like this one is like, it's like regular Pac-Man. It's still the top-down maze things, but the way this one works is that you'll start off and there's like the dots will form a path around the level. The path will start off simple, like you'll just follow one string of dots around in a circle back to the beginning and you'll get the fruit, and then you'll go down like one level deeper, I guess, onto like a second bit. And as you go deeper and deeper, these paths that the dots take get a little more complicated. Pac-Man speeds up and goes a lot faster. The ghosts go a lot faster as well. And there's also like other ghosts. There's like sleeping ghosts that you wake up that attach themselves to the front of the other ghost, which causes like this ghost train to fly around the map, which you've got to avoid the entire ghost train.
Okay.
It's not one-hit kills like it used to be. You can hit the ghost 3 times before you make it angry, and then it starts to attack you. But like there's like these other weird sleeping ghosts that if you hit them, you just bounce off of them, and it completely like can screw up your like if you're like on a really good run and you know the path that you're following and you bounce off one and it sends you in a different direction, it can really screw up your plans for that entire run. And the whole thing is like extremely fast paced. It's all about like twitch, like you've got to know exactly where you're going, you've got to be really fast on the buttons. It's like really adrenaline fueled. It's just crazy.
It seems a lot of fun, actually.
It is. This is the game I recommend the most out of everything I've been playing for the last few weeks. I think everyone should get their hands on this game and play it because it's crazy, it's insane, it's a lot of fun.
It's always interesting to me how you can take a lot of those older titles, something like Pac-Man, and just essentially keep the formula the same and change one or two minor things. It kind of revitalizes it, but still has like that really simple, basic gameplay versus people trying to grab the Sonic game and trying to make every single iteration of it and failing miserably at each one.
Yeah, like I think they tried to do 2 bigger innovations, and that just comes it just turns it into something completely different. Whereas with Pac-Man, all you need is like a small innovation, keep the base game the same, add something small, and it makes a bigger difference. And the fact that they've managed to keep it fresh and release some of the best Pac-Man games ever after 30 years of Pac-Man.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's incredible.
Yeah, that reminds me a lot of Mario Kart too, because when you look at like the development cycle for Mario Kart games, they're essentially still the same game. They just add small variations to it. Like I know in was it Mario Kart 8 they added the whole verticality with like the hang gliders.
Yeah,
and
the anti-gravity, like wall driving and upside down driving and stuff.
Yeah, but it still keeps the core concept of the game the same. Just adding those little things goes a long way to making the series feel like more rejuvenated.
Yeah,
nice.
I agree with you. You remember when they did that with Galaga on the 360? I think it was a marketplace game.
Yeah, that was
Galaga.
I remember because
like
you could buy it in one of those like
×2.
Xbox game packs that they sold.
Yeah, I think that there's just a strong foundation there. Exactly like you're saying, that once you just do something like take a game from 30 years ago and add a couple modern gameplay concepts, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, right? Because it was good to begin with.
Yeah, that's true. And I think maybe it just has to do with like development back in the day, that you didn't have a lot of things to catch the audience on, so you had to make sure that your fundamentals were solid.
There's a Breakout game that's like that too that I can't remember the name of, but it's basically Breakout, but you can use the triggers to put English on the ball.
Really?
So you can curve it a little bit, and like that's nothing, right? Like what that means nothing on paper, but like actually playing it makes it feel so good. It's awesome. All right, what's the current Rayman status?
Rayman, I'm still banging away at those challenges every day. I wake up every morning at 8 o'clock when those challenges refresh.
Get reminded of your own mortality.
Yeah, and I'm still doing it. I'll still go on there, get a gold trophy, and then be like I know I got the gold, but I can get more gold.
You never have too much gold. 3 months and 3 weeks to go. Just hang in there.
Yeah, I'll be sure to keep you updated of that.
Hang tight. As for me, let's see. I mostly just played Hex Cells this week.
Hex Cells, what is that?
It's like a puzzle game. It's almost like Minesweeper. It's Minesweeper-esque, but it's Minesweeper inverted if the mines were the good part.
Okay.
And hexagons instead of squares. And it's just like a little puzzle game. There's 3 of them. There's Hex Cells Plus, and Hex Cells Inf. And what you want to do is find the path, which is the blue cells. So you uncover, it starts out with some of them uncovered, and it says like there's a 3 in the middle of this hexagon. So you know that of the surrounding hexagons, 3 of them are going to be blue.
Oh, okay.
And then you break the ones that aren't part of the path to reveal more numbers, and then sort of try to find all the blue ones without making any mistakes. And the first game was good. It was just fun to play through. It was a little bit maybe easy. They start adding a few different mechanics, like there'll be numbers around the outside of the whole grid that will tell you in this whole column 3 of them are blue, and then it gets a little bit kind of like Picross-ish. And then I started playing Hex Cells Plus and got to World 3, and just like my brain melted into a puddle. Somewhere, like, it's funny because as you play it, you can see this guy who's hand designing these puzzles, like honing and refining his craft. And I'm scared to get to Infinite. Right now I'm in the 5th stage of Plus, and I can play one of those levels for maybe like an hour at a time, just working through those like logistical trains, you know, where it's like, well, this can't be this and that can't be that, and then just abstracting those layers of thought all the way up. It's just like that, like kind of a logistical deducing kind of puzzle game, but it's simple and clean, and just one of the best puzzlers that I've played in a very long time. It's very cool. It's very cool, man. And it's sort of, some of the maps are kind of divided into sections, so you'll get like maybe 3/4 of the way through one section, and then that gives you a clue about a different section. So it feels very almost like they were designed to be solved in a somewhat linear fashion, because you get a little bit of traction and kind of reveal an area, and then that gives you something else and then something else. So if you were to go off the beaten path and try to guess, then when you guess, it doesn't really give you anything, which I like. So it says 3 of these are, you know, 3 of these are going to be blue, but there's 10 total, so I could probably click one, right? Like, my odds are pretty good. I got a 70% chance of being able to break one without it being a mistake, but then you end up with just a 4 in the middle of nowhere, and it doesn't do anything for you because you've stepped off the logistical path. And so that's pretty awesome. I've been trying to clear them all with no mistakes, because when you make a mistake, it kind of ruins the level a little bit, because then you know something that you shouldn't know when you restart it.
Oh, okay. So they don't like randomize every time you restart?
No, it's not randomized at all. Like, it's 100% fixed. So when I make a mistake, it feels double or even triple bad, because now, like, I know there's only 3 games. There's never going to be any more. And I now have a piece of information that I shouldn't. And this puzzle is basically not, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get all the full stuff out of it. I don't get to feel like I did it, you know, because now I know something. And
You've seen spoilers for the puzzle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I've seen spoilers for the puzzle, and that's a bummer. But there's not really much they can do to change that. But it does encourage you to try and say, okay, no guessing, right? Absolutely no guessing, because it is the most fulfilling to work it all the way through. Those games are great, man. I think they go on sale all the time. They're from 2014, so you can get them for a song, and very cool to play through. And like I said, man, right now it's like an hour-long ordeal just to get through an individual puzzle. And it's great. I mean, it's really, really great.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I recommend it for sure. That's it. I mean, I played Minesweeper on my phone, so I guess it's the week of Minesweeper for me, and that's all I got. So that wraps up this week in video games. Let's talk about the news.
Sounds good.
The news. Let's talk about the news. Okay, I've got a couple of news stories here. Let's see. The first one. Digital Homicide is dismissing the case against the Steam users, which is what we talked about last week, and I guess they've decided to drop the case.
Did they go into any details as to why?
Let's see. I've got
They came to their senses.
No, but really, that doesn't sound like them at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically them saying, hey, we had a legitimate thing to say here. We had some legitimate points, and we're not entirely at fault. And so, yeah, basically, I guess that they got hit with the Steam hammer and kind of decided to back off, but they backed off in a way that says that they could still pursue it in the future if they choose to. So it's not 100%.
Okay, so you think it was mainly they got strong-armed into backing away?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It says, the quote from the guy, and his name is James Romine, the guy who runs Digital Homicide, his quote says, "Case dismissal was only due to financial reasons caused by the removal of our games. I believe the case is very solid."
Huh.
So it's them saying, crap, there goes our revenue stream, right?
So refresh my memory. What was their main argument for pushing the suit?
The main argument is Arizona State Law 13-2921, which covers all harassment, including electronic, per the statute, conduct that is directed at a specific person and that would cause a reasonable person to be seriously alarmed, annoyed, or harassed, and the conduct, in fact, seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses the person. Basically saying that stuff is, it hurts their bottom line and is like defamation of character and such.
Okay, so were they saying that specifically to the bad reviews for their games? Or was it just that community in general was speaking out against them in a way that made them feel that way?
Exactly right.
Okay, that's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
You think Valve are gonna do something about this now? You think this is gonna force them to step up their quality control a little more, or you think they're just gonna let this arsehole step back onto Steam under a different developer's name and put out the extra large testicle 2 or something?
I mean, they still get the money from the sales, or a fraction of it. So I think Valve just kind of likes to remind them who's in charge, and then so when they prove they can play nice, they're more than welcome to come back to the store.
Yeah, and they've got they're basically saying hey, a lot worse stuff than what we make ends up on Steam,
which that is true, especially with the whole greenlight process and everything like that. There's a lot of questionable games up there, and I mean, but Valve has always been pretty hands off with major controversy aside, for the most part, they don't really get involved in what goes on there. Yeah,
that's very true. I mean, it's a free market, and basically Greenlight is the only barrier to entry. And I know that if I remember right, the way Greenlight works is if you had a game on Steam before Greenlight became implemented, then you still have carte blanche to post whatever you want. Yep. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, it's Valve stays out of it, and it's community controlled, and if your game doesn't do well and it has bad sales, that's nothing on Valve. That's just that's just what the community thinks.
Yeah, what do you guys think about Greenlight in general so far and how it's been going? Do you guys go on there and vote on stuff at all?
I used to. I kind of get cold towards it a little bit because I started realizing that I don't know. I don't get any kind of satisfaction out of voting for games that may or may not come out. Mm-hmm. I'd much rather see them when they release on alpha, or betas and stuff like that, and get actual more community input once the game's actually in a playable state, rather than a lot of the well wishes that you see in Greenlight. Because I think for Greenlight, it's really great. It's really easy to sell a concept, but it's when the game is past that stage and it's actually into the playable mode that you start seeing some of the flaws.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Case in point.
I think Greenlight is nice in concept, but when there's just shit like Harambe Sim that gets greenlit just because memes, it sort of makes you think, oh, well, maybe this isn't the best system in the world. Maybe community control isn't the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't have an alternative solution, but I know that it's also bad because it creates a black market for publishers who either existed before Greenlight or have made their way through the Greenlight process so that they are able to reach out to these people and say, hey, we can get your game published for, this percentage. Like, it allows them to exploit people who maybe can't get through the Greenlight process themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see that as a very large pitfall of it. But like on paper, it sounds great, right? Like the community votes on what makes it to Steam. That's awesome.
And there's the also like allegations. I'm going to say allegations very carefully, just in case anyone like Digital Homicide is lawsuit happy. That some of these Greenlight developers could be essentially buying positive votes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Right. Anything on the internet that's a reasonable thing to say, for sure.
I've heard like rumors and like allegations, as Jamie said, in regards to that, where even once the game's out of Greenlight, just reviewers are constantly like contacting, YouTube celebrities and, streamers saying, hey, we'll give you free access to our game for, positive reviews and stuff.
I do like the change that they made to the review system in response to that, though, where reviews that are posted are labeled as... wait, are they labeled as they were given a promotional key, or they don't show up if they were given a promotional key? It's one or the other. I don't remember how it works, but like since Valve has the ability to track that stuff because they enter the key into Steam through the add a game feature.
Yeah, and I know the keys themselves are actually specifically like flagged as press copies.
Right, and so they're able to, then sort the reviews based on that, which I think that's a great change. That one makes a lot of sense.
I think, don't quote me on this because I can't remember the details, but I think your review still shows up, but it doesn't actually contribute to the aggregate score.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
You can still post it, but it won't actually have a numerical impact on the game.
That's awesome.
But it's kind of cool, just even whether or not it affects it, just the fact that they're throwing that disclaimer out for the person now saying, hey, this game was part of a promotional giveaway or it was given for free or it is a review copy. Just it lets the community immediately know, okay, there may or may not be a bias based on this.
Here we go. An analysis of games across Steam shows that at least 160 titles have a substantially greater percentage of positive reviews by users that activated the product with a CD key compared to customers that purchased the game directly on Steam. There are, of course, legitimate reasons why this could be true. Some games have a strong audience and some games have passionate early adopters, but in many cases, the abuse is clear and obvious. Blah, blah, blah. In those cases, we've now taken action by banning the false reviews and will be ending business relationships with developers that continue violating our rules.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they are going for the throat on those people to make a better world for everybody else, which is good.
Good to know.
Good to know. Hey, man, at least they're trying. I mean, they are like the one-stop shop for PC games, so they don't have to do any of that stuff. So it's good that they're trying to find a way.
That is true. I mean, and Steam Community Service really hasn't been painted in the best light. So just the fact that they're taking at least some kind of like a modicum of effort to address issues like this is kind of, it's a nice thought.
I agree. It's some trying to solve a very complicated problem. Okay, let's see. I got another piece of news here that says Capcom Street Fighter V installs hidden rootkit on PC.
I can't.
That sounds like a bummer all around.
I can't. I know. Like I know they said they did it because of like for anti-cheating, but I can't see that going over well with the community as a whole.
Yeah. I guess if we take the situation as in its entirety, they then are rolling that back, or at least based on this tweet that I'm reading, says they're rolling back the security measures added to the PC version. But still, that's tricky, right? So I don't understand a lot of this technical stuff, but the way, at least the gist of it from what I'm reading, says that the update to the game came with a driver that allows basically, I don't know, what does it say? It stops the memory address hacking and stuff. I guess there was a way to get fight money by using that program I can't think of the name of. Cheat Engine, that's what it is. Yeah, there was a way to get fight money by using Cheat Engine, so this does that. And then SMEP is a feature that prevents kernel-level software from executing code, and the idea is that this driver turns that flag off.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know if somebody would be able to take advantage of that, or if it's just scary that it turns that off, leaving the gates wide open for a period of time.
Right.
Maybe that's the deal. Like it deactivates something that it basically should not have access to. Scary though.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
That's unusual.
Is there any news on like what the community response was for that?
They were pissed.
and rightfully so, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I know, like the fighting game community is very serious, especially in regards like when it gets to the competitive scene and just cheating in general on it. I'd say they're probably more harder on cheaters than like any other kind of gaming community out there, whether it be fighting games or like first-person shooter, competitive shooting. So you'd expect them to be the ones that would be all over kind of like an anti-cheating method like that. But at the end of the day, it's them installing a rootkit, on your computer without your knowledge or consent in a way.
Yeah, and weren't they even at the like way back when on Street Fighter V's early days? Weren't they like manually reviewing cases?
I think they were.
So I guess they're trying to find a way to get better at that, man. In general, sure, right? Like if you need anti-cheat software, go for it. I think that there's plenty of ways to do that, though, that don't expose your kernel level.
Right.
Which seems like a bad idea.
Plus, I mean, this wasn't something that they had an option to opt into, right? It was just an automatic download.
Right, yeah. It was part of an update.
Okay, so
you didn't
that I
really
could
have
see
choice.
how people would be kind of pissed off at. Huh.
Oh, there we go. Let's see. Last piece of news. Let's talk about that Skyrim thing. That was interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually looking it up real quick. So there is a Skyrim live concert that's going to be occurring, kind of going on tour. I think it's starting off in Europe, and I think it's a Skyrim live orchestra. That's like they're basically playing the musical score for Skyrim, and I guess Jeremy Soule, who was the original composer for the game, is upset because it wasn't cleared with him in any way. He made a post on his Facebook page. Just long story of it is a concert. What concert? Anyone that knows me also knows that I care passionately about the integrity of my music. Skyrim took years for me to compose, and it was constructed very carefully. Today, I'm seeing reports of a concert of Skyrim. This is the first I've heard of it. For the record, this concert has nothing to do with me, nor are they using any of my original scores. So, I mean, it kind of keeps going on, but I guess he's upset for a number of reasons. One of them, I guess, from the artistic integrity of it, saying that they didn't have access to his original scores, and they've basically just transcribed from what they've heard from recordings. So he's saying that could hurt the quality of it. He's also upset because I guess he wasn't approached for this whatsoever. They just kind of decided to do it themselves. Especially considering that it is a for-profit concert, so it's not like it's come out of the park. We're playing covers of Skyrim. It's it's an actual pay money. They make a profit off of this. And again, it wasn't something that he was contacted on or even addressed with him.
It's not a small thing either. Like this is going to be in the London Palladium, which is like one of the biggest sort of venues in England, and the ticket prices aren't that cheap. They range from anywhere between £25 and £75, so they're going to be making a lot of money off this, and it's just really weird to think that they wouldn't contact him or ask him or anything and just sort of do it behind his back.
Yeah, and I mean, anybody listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding though that also Bethesda is the one that actually owns all the licensing for the music and everything that got composed for Skyrim, and they gave the go-ahead. So I guess from a legal standpoint, they got the green light to do this, but I can also see from just a creator standpoint that how, you take it personally if they're using your work to kind of make a profit off of it, and everyone just kind of went over your head and didn't even bother to contact you.
Yeah, maybe not illegal, but disrespectful, certainly.
So yeah, I mean, I guess he's just pretty much kind of ranting a little bit on Facebook and just warning people, saying that, hey, this isn't indicative of anything that I've done or any work that I've created. So just be warned. So, I mean,
I just think it's weird that, from a logistical standpoint, if you're organising this tour and you're organising an orchestra, surely you want the guy that's created it involved, so that surely that just makes the whole process easier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Surely they're making things more difficult for themselves.
So, I mean, it makes me wonder if maybe, I don't want to say there's any bad blood or if something's going on, but I mean, if there was a reason why he wasn't contacted, maybe Bethesda just didn't see a reason to. They're like, yeah, whatever, give us our cut and do whatever you guys want. So, because I think I'm not sure how the contract works of it, but I mean, because a lot of the game pieces and developers, they work on a contract basis. You work for that project, and once you finish, you're done. That's it.
Oh yeah, all creative output is property of blah blah blah, etc.
I know it's the same. It's the same thing for writers, and I'm assuming it's the same thing for artists and even the composers. So Bethesda, I mean, I'm sure they own every single piece of content that came out of Soul. So it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like you said, it's not illegal, and Bethesda can do essentially what they want with it.
I don't even remember the music from Skyrim.
I just remember
I don't know,
the whole the whole the Norse yelling,
the title theme, the trailer. That's about it. That's the only memorable one.
the Dovahkiin one. I mean, it was a pretty cool trailer. But yeah, I guess that kind of sucks. So, I mean, I feel for him though. I mean, especially if it's something that you spend like a substantial amount of time, that it is very recognizable too for a lot of fans, because people are going to go to that not because it's that specific orchestra. They're going to go because it's Skyrim.
Oh, that's a fact. So. Well, I guess we'll stay tuned and see what happens. Maybe they'll have a change of heart. Fly him out there.
Hopefully.
And I guess that covers all the news items for this week. That's all I got. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. This has been the end of this episode of the Select Characters Podcast. As always, thank you so very much for tuning in. We do appreciate your continued attendance week after week. If you have any questions or topics you want to talk about or anything you'd like to hear us discuss, you can send us an email to selectcharacters@gmail.com. You can find us on our Discord server, where we'll have a link in the show notes so you can get into that. There's people hanging out in there all the time, playing games and just talking. It's fun. And also, we have our YouTube channel where we've got content going up, including this very episode you're listening to, and eventually down the road, maybe some other stuff. But other than that, if you want to leave us a review at your podcast marketplace of choice, please do that. 5 stars is great, but no matter what you rate, if you could just leave a little note so we can always improve and get better at making this content for you. And that's it, man. So that brings us to the end. We'll talk to you next week. And until then, bye-bye.
All right.